series here. I started this discussion last week about Texas red zone woes and the red zone issues, and pointed out the trend that when Sark first got to Texas, his red zone offense was like elite. It was top five in the country, third in touchdown percentage in the red zone, and since it's actually falling off a cliff. In 2023, it was 120th in touchdown percentage in the red zone, roughly half the trips in the red zone. Texas scoring a touchdown, and they were 90th in red zone offense overall. So I thought to myself, man, it's a hell of a mystery because Sark's offenses are so effective and efficient, so explosive, and they were so talented. You were loaded last year. You were loaded in terms of three drafted wide receivers, two running backs that were drafted from that offense. You had a tight end that was drafted. You had a offensive lineman, a tackle that was drafted. Quinn will be a first round pick next season. If not, he'll next draft, I should say. And if not, he'll be a highly drafted quarterback. I mean, you got NFL players. You got the heaviest O line in the conference at the time. So it was just a mystery as to, and Sark is a brilliant offensive mind. Just a mystery as to why they would struggle in the red zone there in money time. Now, a lot of it is the field shrinking, but it was multifactorial. Sometimes it was the O line. Sometimes it was Quinn and his progressions. Sometimes it was the timing of the wide receivers. Sometimes great play by the defense. It was always something a little bit different. And Sark never really figured it out either. I think that's why he kept kind of throwing blank at the wall and seeing if it would stick. Whether you're talking about the jumbo package, or whether you're talking about him deciding to focus on players and not plays. I think he threw different solutions at it, but I'm not sure he ever really found out what the issue was because it was always something different. So you could never really nail down what the pattern of the trend was. So I started looking at the Texas most effective offensive plays in the red zone. Right. I looked at yards per play. I looked at success rate. I looked at conversion rate. And the best plays in the red zone, or at least the most effective plays from those metrics. And tried to look at the commonalities, right, between those plays and those concepts. And so I basically took the top 10. The top 10, if you're looking at the top 10 plays who basically share at least two of those three metrics, right, that meet the criteria of two of those three metrics, either the top 10 in conversion rate or among Texas concepts in the red zone, conversion rate, success rate, and yards per play. And so here's what I found. So I got like 10 plays here. I went just chose the top 10 here. 5 of those concepts are RPOs, of your most successful concepts in the red zone, which means Sark should run more RPOs in the red zone. They work relatively well compared to the other plays. They are high success rates, if you should say, higher success rates, higher yards per play in the red zone. And so half of the best 10 most effective plays in the red zone for Texas using those metrics are RPOs. Which give you a combination, right? So run pass option. So you essentially have your two plays in one. You got the run option and you got the pass option. And when I looked at what commonalities, like what common traits those plays or concepts have, misdirection was a big part of it. I counted 6 of the 10 concepts with misdirection, or some type of misdirection, whether in the backfield or whether with the pre-snap motion, or maybe your quarterback is a half boot or a half roll. So to me, that's something Sark should pursue more of. Misdirection in more RPOs, more misdirection. And if you're going to have more misdirection, then you need more pre-snap motion. This is actually something that I have suggested that Sark use more of, right? More pre-snap motion. Now, Sark is a guy that he's a very modern offensive mind. He's very progressive. And he even champions his love for the Shanahan coaching tree for a lot of NFL offensive minds, and how they use certain concepts and how they use certain cheat codes and loopholes in their offense. Well, Sark is behind actually when it comes to pre-snap motion, when it compared to some of those mentors that he looks up to in the NFL. He's between 50 and 55% pre-snap motion, right? 55% of his plays, somewhere around there, have pre-snap motion, 50 to 55%. If you go look at where the Shanahan clan is, because he looks up to the McShanahan coaching tree guys, man, Mike McDaniels is at 82%. Kyle Shanahan's at 75%. Sean McVay's at 70%. He just had Sean McVay and talking to his coach. He's at 70%. Those are the guys at the top of the Shanahan coaching tree. Green Bay, Matt LaFleur's at 64%. Kansas City Chiefs have really good offense. They're at 64%. So you could argue Sark needs to use more pre-snap motion, and teams that use more pre-snap motion usually have more misdirection. You get the defense going one way with the pre-snap motion, and then you can bring back the action going another. And Sark, if you go look at his offense, usually a lot of the direction of the action is going opposite of the pre-snap motion. And it's just to give defense more to process and to try to catch their eyes, right? You would like to occupy the eyes of the defender, and a lot of time pre-snap motion will do that. And he should also target his pre-snap motion more in the red zone. Use it more in the red zone. Target your motion players more in the red zone, and utilize more misdirection. These are all things I think they should do in the red zone. When Sark targets, or at least Sark's quarterbacks target a player in the that's in motion, 10 yards per attempt, 78% completion percentage last year, 23% explosive play rate. Those numbers do reflect 2022. You were at 80% completion percentage, 10 yards per attempt. 2021, you're at 8.4 yards per attempt, 81% completion percentage. Oh no, it aligns, it tracks. So I just say do more of that in the red zone. More pre-snap motion, more misdirection, more RPOs. These are all things to force the defense to try to process more now. Everything happens faster in the red zone, so you got to accelerate all these concepts. But I also think that can put the defense at a huge disadvantage, the fact that it's happening faster, and you don't have time as a defense to react. Think about how Andy Reid won his last 2 Super Bowls, right? Was it corn dog? What was it? Misdirection in the red zone. That's all it was. Both of them misdirection using pre-snap motion. Misdirection in the red zone using pre-snap motion. It's good enough for Andy Reid. I think it's good enough for Sark. And I think it makes sense that Sark, he idolizes that coaching tree, and he can use some of those same concepts. Also, you'll look at the 49ers, speaking of that Shanahan coaching tree. The 49ers are the best team in the red zone in the NFL. When you look at touchdown percentage in the red zone, they're at a 68% touchdown rate in the red zone. Miami's at 65%. Now, Detroit is second. They're at 66%, but you studied the Shanahan coaching tree. You've already implemented those concepts within your offense from your time in Atlanta, following him in Atlanta, and based on what you have told us, that you steal concepts from your favorite offensive minds, and that is your favorite offensive coaching tree in the NFL. And 2 of those offensive minds, those offensive play callers who are from that Shanahan coaching tree, are top 3 in touchdown percentage in the red zone. And you run a pro style offense. And I think one of the commonalities between both of those is they use a lot of 2 tailback sets or 2 back sets. Shano and the 49ers use Kyle Juszczyk as their modern fullback. So they use more 21 personnel than anybody in the league. And the Miami Dolphins use a lot of 2 back sets, but it's pony package, much like Sark pony package. Sark loves speed. Who else loves speed? Well, Miami Dolphins love speed. I'm sure there are a lot of concepts that you can use that are, familiar, but also I think that are common between those 2 types of offenses, because they're both West Coast offenses, and you can be using 2 tailbacks. So if I'm Sark, and in terms of copying some of the concepts that would help you in the red zone, and by the way, he should start using more 2 tailback sets in the red zone. I've been saying the more 2 tailback sets forever. Pony package, most explosive, most effective, most efficient personnel package for Texas the last 2 years, whether you're looking at yards per play, yards per rush, or yards per attempt, or completion percentage, or explosive play rate. And why wouldn't that translate into the red zone? I think it would. I think it is translating into the red zone at the NFL level with the 49ers and with the Miami Dolphins. And I know Sark already is looking at those offensive minds in the offseason. Why not take it a step further and just kind of steal their red zone playbook? Because they're really good at it. And I think I think you're closely aligned philosophically, conceptually with those offenses. So there you go. That's my suggestion for Sark, based on my rabbit hole research about what they can do in the red zone. More RPOs, more misdirection, more pre-snap motion, more targets to motion, more pony package. I wonder what he'll do about the jumbo package. I've talked about that. Remember last year you had T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy in that jumbo package, which, by the way, he got, I believe, from Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst was on the staff last year as an analyst. Paul Chryst, former head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers. Remember, they were running that hippo package where he would throw in 7 offensive linemen instead of the 2 extra offensive linemen. Well, you just put in 1 extra offensive lineman and then put in Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat. So essentially you end up with 8 big bodies on the field, 7 to 8 big bodies. That was something I think Paul Chryst brought into the Texas coaching room and Texas playbook because of his time there in Wisconsin using those big bodies. I wanted this year without Sweat, without Murphy, you can still have Malik Agbo as your extra offensive lineman. But then I wonder if they'll have a jumbo package with extra O linemen, much like they did last year when Paul Chryst was an analyst on the staff. I don't know if he's still on the staff or not, but I do think he was one of the part of that think tank, I should say, that helped them come up with that concept for the jumbo package. Also something you may see in the red zone, or maybe you'll see it sparingly. But like I said, those are my suggestions for try to juice up the Texas red zone offense, which there's no way it can get worse than it was last year. But keep in mind, the 3 years Sark has been there, the red zone offense has gotten worse every year, but the team has gotten better. I can't